Teachers of Reddit, what's the worst thing a student did to you? I had a parent push me, spit on me and slap me when she came to my classroom unannounced, because I had given her daughter a detention for spitting in my face. Parent denied it, school did nothing. Don't teach anymore. I'm in Australia FYI. A friend of mine is a teacher in a rough neighborhood. One day immediately after school she got a call from the principal telling her to stay in her classroom with the door locked instead of leaving like she normally did. The police arrested one of her students, who had bragged to another student about kidnapping the teacher. He was arrested waiting by her car with a knife and zip ties. I was slammed against a wall by a 17-year-old kid who then wiped his hands all over my face and kissed me. One other student saw and she laughed. I left the position immediately. It was a private drama school. I've been mostly lucky, but I've had two bad ones, both while training. Both these were in Birmingham, UK. A student aged 7 brought a Stanley knife into school and was taking it out of his pocket and messing with it while looking straight at me. It was pretty scary knowing he knew exactly what he was doing. A very aggressive child attacked me, digging his nails into my arm and drawing blood. He then twisted my arm backwards. That was a fun report. I've also had a chair thrown at me. Fun times. Back in the 70s at a Catholic high school I saw priests punch out students routinely. I remember at orientation a lay teacher, who was also the wrestling coach, lifted a student up and threw him against a wall. After a couple of years I transferred to the public schools and first day saw a girl scratch a teacher's face leaving a crossword pattern on it. I don't know how anyone would ever want to be an inner city teacher. When I was in high school, there was a teacher that went around and called male students the F word for gay people all the time. He was really mean. Eventually, we all started telling him his pickup truck was pink, because he was colorblind and started calling him gay and he sold his truck to not look gay. Lol, he loved that truck too, but we were mad at him. Some of us really were gay and didn't need that kind of abuse from someone who wasn't even our dad. Out loud to the whole class, I had a student wish cancer on my unborn son. Had another student say he would shoot my wife. This one wasn't so bad, but could have been. One female student started a rumor that she was my favorite and that I thought she was cute. I had to proactively reach out to leadership to put that one down before it got bad. In general, tons of swearing and disrespect. Most of it is due to childhood trauma and home life, but yeah, teaching is great but being a teacher can suck. A colleague was stalked by a kid. Found out where she lived, where she shopped, what her routine was. Used to get her friends to stand outside her house and harass her outside Tesco. She would make comments in class, such as "Aren't green curtains nice?" Knowing the teacher had green curtains, for example. It got so bad she got the police involved and ended up moving house. Scary stuff. My mom is a substitute teacher and one kid took a particular disliking to her and somehow found out her home address. He started yelling it out loud during class the next day and telling the other kids to teach her a lesson. Thankfully nothing ever came of it, but my mom was scared as hell for a while. The school did absolutely nothing and she had to keep teaching him for several more weeks. That reminds me of a kid who was on my special ed caseload years ago. I only met with him twice a week to help him get organized, etc., but he latched onto me and we were pretty close. His case manager and other people in the school kept asking how things were going and I was like, fine, he's great. Someone finally told me that the reason everyone kept checking up was because when he was in kindergarten, the young lad got into a fight with the principal. Like yelling at her, screaming, and finally yelled something like, "I'm going to find you and find where you live." Everyone was like, okay whatever, you're 5. A few weeks later, the principal woke up to a message on her personal, private cell phone from the kid, left at about 3 a.m. His only words were, "Miss So-and-so, I found you." Had a chair thrown at me and he threatened to kill me and my unborn child. I was pregnant at the time. He was in 5th grade and received no consequences. I had a student draw a picture of myself giving a blowjob to another teacher. I am also a male. Very well drawn picture. Very disturbing. Not to me, but I saw it go down. My next door neighbor teacher was on crutches after breaking her foot, or ankle, I don't remember. This kid saw her coming and called her over. Then he took his water bottle and spilled it all around her so that she was basically stuck. He ran off laughing, calling us all everything but a child of God. We teachers got paper towels and cleaned it up, but it was horrifying. The reason he was mad? She made him turn in an assignment earlier that day. Same kid also pounded on a teacher's door so hard that he knocked a wall hanging down on her head, causing her to knock her teeth together so hard that she broke a tooth. He knew she was there, he knew about the wall hanging. He did not care. That kid walked across the stage at graduation 5 months later with the rest of them. One of my kids told me, one day, you're going to fall in love with a man. And he's gonna love you and be your world. And then he's gonna break up with you and then you won't be so positive. He is 8. I got stalked and sexually harassed by a boy at school. He would yell explicit things at me or sneak around and croon disgusting things at me in stairwells and walkways when only his friends were in earshot. They all covered for him. I kept a paper trail by documenting every time he so much as looked at me in my planning journal, but he left school before I needed it. I had already shown admin a few pages and they were good about it. Not sure if he was expelled or if he just left. I hope he left town. I never want to see him again. I had a high school kid threaten to gut me. I should add this was in the midst of him screaming, lunging at me and then peeing in a corner of the room. I obviously reported it to admin, who brushed aside my concerns, explaining he was all talk. That kid murdered someone a year later. Shot him execution style after breaking into his house. He was arrested but let out before trial because of a Miranda violation. So as far as I know he's walking around free. I was sexually assaulted by a student. Good admin removed that student from the school and they have community service and mandatory sexual harassment classes with the police department. Said student tried to jam a pencil up my ass when I was facing away helping another desk with their assignment. I was a student, but the worst I saw was some kid who got kicked out of class for being disrespectful come back to throw one of those big trash drums at a teacher. Full of trash. In front of everyone. She cried. That was damn near 20 years ago in early high school, and sometimes I think about that. Lots of collective shame and feeling like I failed because I did nothing to help or even comfort. She was pretty new to the school, had a positive energy for wanting to teach, and was truly a kind person. I'm sorry you had to go through that, Ms. Brady Clark. My mom is a teacher and she had a student make a fake clone profile of a male teacher and send dick pics to a female teacher in an attempt to get the male teacher fired. I think he pressed charges. Elbowed me in the stomach while I was 24 weeks pregnant. Sent me to the hospital. The part that sucked the most is the principal knew they had previously attacked pregnant women and used me as a test, thinking that they might have outgrown it. Set the kid and me up for failure. When I went to the hospital, the first thing that was said to me was, "The proof is in the pudding now." And they still refused to pay my medical bills. I no longer work as a teacher because fuck that shit. I teach toddlers, and I had a really aggressive kid. He was consistently hitting kids, dragging them by the hair, biting them in the face, etc., etc. At one point, I had pulled him away after he kept pulling a girl's hair and he bit me so hard on the hand that I started bleeding and it scarred. I almost quit my job because of this student. I was filling out 2+ accident reports a day and it was so hard to see the fear in the other children. Luckily, he got kicked from the program, but it was a horrible 3 months. An expelled student came up to school on the final day to beat me up with a hammer. He was expelled for bringing syrup to school, his 4th drug-related offense. I was the one who caught him each time. He chickened out and threw it at me from across the street, not realizing the cops were pulling up behind him. This one is just creepy. Kid stole all of my pictures on LinkedIn and Facebook and started an online relationship with a very creepy older guy. I'm my school's go-to-tech person. The kid's screen went out, so he brought it to me. Normally we just give them a refurbished one until we can outsource ETH repair. I decided to just replace it myself instead. Booted it up, told him to sign in so I could show him how to update and clear space. And guess what pops up? Chats from the creepy dude. He was attempting to talk to him at that very moment via Messenger. Mind you, this kid is 11, but my picture is the profile picture. I click on the Google profile and it's all my photos with a laughably bad name. Reported it immediately. It was a huge investigation. I am no longer Neve when it comes to social media. I took some bereavement days because my best friend passed. I came back to everything in my desk stolen, including pictures of my brothers and I considered my best friend my brother, and tech I bought for my class. I'm well liked by my students and the community I teach in. So I was surprised and hurt. This one kid though hated my guts. His mom and I dated in high school. So he used the opportunity to steal and destroy stuff he knew was important to me. Sold the tech to a janky repair shop and made a video burning of himself burning photos. I was so hurt. I've been teaching for 15 years. I've seen some crazy stuff. My first day, first 5 minutes actually, my student came in and started screaming at me that he wanted to go home. He then proceeded to flash me and strip butt naked. He then tried to escape through the door, me kicked through me. Then ran outside in the rain. He started toward the main road with 5 adults chasing him. He finally dropped down into a ditch on the main road. Bystanders and drivers ended up calling the police on us for hazing a student. There was nowhere to go but up after that. A few months later he punched me in the face in front of an entire cafeteria. Needless to say he no longer attends my school. TLDR, dude literally beating off his meat during class, in the classroom, with classmates and teacher there. I'm not a teacher but when I was in the 7th grade, I was 11 at the time, maybe it's different in other countries, a dude from the other class, same grade, so around the same age, started playing with himself during biology class. All the boys thought the biology teacher was hot. He did it right there. In front of her. In front of everybody. Thankfully he was not from my class, otherwise I might have been traumatized by this unique sight. His parents were contacted and he got suspended for 1 week, if I remember correctly. There was a possibility he'd be expelled, but that didn't happen. Hey, when I was a kid, it was the French teacher throwing a chair at a kid's head. I did not go to a good school. Thanks for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe for more r/AskReddit videos.